Hey everybody! I'm posting a video this Monday because I've had more time on my hands on the weekends. And it's not the usual week that I upload according to our schedule. Everyone uploads their own video every other week now because everyone's really busy, so I decided to make a video about George Harrison and Bob Dylan. I've decided after a lot of thinking that George Harrison is my favorite Beatle. It takes a lot for me to say that because originally I was a Paul girl, and then some time ago I was a John girl, then I was a Paul girl again, now I'm a George girl. Even though I love them all, even Ringo, George is different to me than the others. I think it's his depth of character and his music really lifts my spirits up all the time, so I just wanted to briefly talk about his friendship with Bob Dylan. Now, as you all recall, the Beatles met Bob in 1964. It was at this time that he introduced them all to marijuana. Sorry to say, it took on pretty quickly. My mother would be so proud. My mom is a huge fan of Bob, and I probably wouldn't know anything about him if it weren't for her. George and Bob's friendship may have started on that foot, but it ended up on a completely different level that I think most people did not expect. We didn't see their friendship show up really until 1970 when they recorded studio sessions with each other. This wasn't really ever released as an album, it's more like a bootleg, I guess. They recorded a lot of songs that were covers, like Bob actually does a cover of Yesterday. I'll put a link down here where you can hear studio sessions. It's just a really great thing to listen to. You can hear them kind of laughing with each other. You can tell that they're really comfortable. They have a really good time playing around with their instruments. And then in 1971, George invited Bob to his concert for Bangladesh. This concert raised money for the refugees who were starving during the Liberation War. The concert was a success. It brought over 400,000 people to 2 concerts, and there were others there, like Ravi Shankar, and I believe Ringo Starr showed up as well. Apparently Bob didn't play live for a while at this point, so to get him there and play live was really something. It definitely took a good friend to bring him out of hibernation. For this concert, there is actually some footage of them rehearsing If Not For You, which was written by Bob Dylan. And I'll link that here too. Even though the original is by Bob Dylan and he does a great job on it, most people, including me, prefer George Harrison's version. I think he does a wonderful job. The spirit that you hear in the music is unbeatable. Like I said before, George's music really lifts my spirit, and that's just one song that does it. I read somewhere that like 63% of people prefer George's over Bob's. And it's probably because of Bob's voice. I understand, I do. But he's just an amazing songwriter, and everybody knows that. You cannot deny that. George really admired Bob. In an interview in 1996, he told Paul Kashmir, the interviewer, "With Bob, he has proven to be special. The words he wrote, the songs he's done, and I think one of the best things about him is that he's true to today, to how he was back in 1963, and not a lot of people still believe in the same stuff they believed in then." George really admired how Bob stuck to his guns about a lot of things. If I'm correct, people were kind of flipping and flopping back then about what they believed in. An example would be John Lennon. Even he believed in things when he was younger that he didn't believe in before he died. In 1992, there was a concert for Bob Dylan, celebrating Bob Dylan, and George was there, and he played with all the greats, all Bob's friends. He played If Not For You. So that was just a good old throwback. In 1988, George got together with a bunch of friends, including Bob, Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, and Jeff Lynne, to create the Traveling Wilburys. A lot of people probably know about this already, so I won't spend too long on it, but they all came together in Bob's home to record just one song. It was just the B-side of George's single, This Is Love. The record label really liked it, and they decided that, hey, this is a really good band. We should, record an album. So they did, and the album was called Traveling Wilburys Volume 1. This group was just kind of like a fun group for all the professionals to get together and just play what they wanted to play. Before they could record a second album, Roy Orbison died in 1988. The second album was called Traveling Wilburys Volume 3. George thought that would be kind of a fun way to throw people off, but it wasn't nearly as successful as the first one. Bob and George were good friends. They inspired each other. They loved to work with each other. I think that they were kind of like the John and Paul, possibly, of George's life after the Beatles, if that even makes sense. I think he finally found somebody that encouraged him to do his own things, and I just think it's really important to have a friend that inspires you and that you want the best for. And I think Bob was that person for George. In his short biography, George was saying that Ringo told him that Ringo wanted to always be number one, and George said to him, "You don't have to be number one. You want to be number one. The record is second." He said, "If you set yourself up looking for success, when you have a failure, you fall much deeper. I say bring the two together. As Bob Dylan said, when you find out you are at the top, you are at the bottom." So George really took into account what Bob had to say, and he really, really admired him. He said in that same interview, "Dylan is so brilliant. To me, he makes William Shakespeare look like Billy Joel." The two had spirituality which really changed their lives. It doesn't matter that it may not have been the same exact religion, but they had a belief of something bigger and higher than themselves, and I think that really changed who they were and who they became. I think they both appreciated that in one another. After George died in 2001, Bob did not show up at the concert for George, but he did actually play something as a tribute at one of his concerts, and I couldn't find that clip anywhere. I believe it was on his website at one point, but he took it down, as he takes everything down nowadays. But it would have been really nice to see or hear. I know Bob covered a few of George's songs, but to hear that song would have just been amazing. I guess I just wanted you guys to see what kind of friendship he had with Bob, and I wanted you guys to learn a little bit more about George, because a lot of times we kind of ignore him because he wasn't as volatile or as cute as another Beatle. He matched them in talent, let me tell you that.